Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Origins of Expressions. Today, we'll be going over the phrases my cup of tea, storm in my teacup, not for all the tea in China. What do they have in common? They're all phrases and idioms around tea. So let's get right to work and start this video. Tea. That beverage that can be consumed hot or cold, or maybe just used as an ingredient in a dessert. Tea has been around for a long time. In fact, it is ranked right up there with water as one of the world's most favorite drinks. No matter how you like your tea, or even if you like tea, it's been part of our phrases in the English-speaking world since our addiction to it started. Today, we'll go over 3 idioms where tea is our subject. Go ahead and pour yourself a cup of tea as we move into our first phrase. My cup of tea. My cup of tea means something that you find pleasing, something that you enjoy. Now that's my cup of tea. The phrase hasn't been around for a long time, but in keeping with the high affection we have for tea, most of the early references to a cup of tea are used as a description. People or things that someone felt a likeness to began to be called my cup of tea in the 1930s. Nancy Mitford appeared to be the first to record that term in print in the comic novel Christmas Pudding in 1932. I'm not at all sure I wouldn't rather marry Aunt Ludi. She's even more my cup of tea in many ways. Nowadays, the expression is more often used in a negative way, not my cup of tea. This negative usage began in World War II. An early example of it is found in Hale Boyle's column called Leaves from a War Correspondent's Notebook. In 1944, he wrote, "You don't say someone gives you a pain in the neck. You just remark, he's not my cup of tea." Today, we still hear it both ways. It just depends on how you want to use it. If it's in a positive, it's my cup of tea. If it's not positive, it's not my cup of tea. A few example sentences are, that dress is really not my cup of tea. I enjoy museums. It's my cup of tea. Well, let's go ahead and quietly move to our next phrase. Storm in my teacup. Storm in my teacup means a disproportionate reaction of anger, concern, or displeasure over some minor or trivial matter. Boy, you're making this a storm in a teacup. This phrase started out a bit different than what we say today. In fact, it didn't use the word storm or teacup. It was pretty much pick some kind of bad weather and put it in some kind of kitchen item. An example is in 52 BC, translated from Cicero. He was stirring up billows in a ladle. Other languages have their own interpretations of the saying. The Netherlands version is a storm in a glass of water. The Hungarians is a tempest in a potty. And in Europe, they say a tempest in a teapot. One of the first written records where the phrase a storm in a teacup is written is Modern Accomplishments or The March of Intellect by Catherine Sinclair in 1838. It reads, "As for your father's good-humored jests being ever taken up as a serious affair, it really is like raising a storm in a teacup." Today we do not see this phrase used as much, but if we did, it would still be used to say, you're making a big deal out of nothing. You're upset or annoyed about something that is not at all important. An example sentence is, I really think you're making a storm in a teacup over this. It's just a tiny scratch on the car. Well, they seem upset. Let's leave them as we move into our next phrase. Not for all the tea in China. Not for all the tea in China means not at any price, not for any reason or incentive whatsoever. Nope, not for all the tea in China. This phrase originated around the late 19th to early 20th centuries and derives from the fact that China was well known to produce tea in huge quantities. So, to decline an offer to do something for all the tea in China is to be determined not to do it, no matter what is offered. This phrase is said to have been around since the late 1800s, but the earliest record was from 1907 in New Zealand's Marlborough Express. It reads, "A short time ago, the celestial maiden would not exchange one of her tiny disfigured feet for all the tea in China. If she lives long enough, she'll probably weep salt tears of regret that she is not in the fashion." Today, we still use this term to say, "Nope, I will not do it, not for any cost." An example sentence is, "But I absolutely love this jacket. I wouldn't sell it, not for all the tea in China." Well, it looks like they're going to keep that jacket for a little while longer. Let's go ahead and leave them and move on. Ooh, fun fact. Did you know that the white tea, green tea, oolong, pu'er tea, and black tea all come from the Camellia sinensis tea plant? Yep, that's right. But even though they all come from the same plant, they are processed differently. So they have different levels of oxidation, which give them different flavors and attributes. Tea plants will grow into a tree if left undisturbed, but cultivated plants are pruned to waist high for ease of plucking the leaves. Tea is harvested mainly by hand to preserve the quality of the leaves. Machines were used previously, but tea growers found that they were too rough and damaged the leaves. Typically, harvest occurs twice a year. The first harvest, or the first flush, and it occurs in the spring, while the second harvest, or the second flush, takes place in the summer. Tea leaves begin oxidation as soon as they're harvested, so processing centers are usually located really close to the fields. Different levels of oxidation are what make different types of true teas. India is famous for its black tea varieties, including Assam and Darjeeling. China and Japan are famous for green teas. Chinese green teas are roasted and tend to have a smokier flavor. Japanese green teas are steamed, giving the tea more of a vegetal flavor. What type of tea is your favorite? My favorite is pu'er tea. It's a type of tea that is fermented, and it's fermented for many years. It is quite tasty and has a lot of positive attributes. It is a specialty that I only drink once in a while, though. Well, that's the information that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed learning about the origins of our idioms and phrases. I would love to have you subscribe if you thought this video was your cup of tea. It is quick and easy, and I would really appreciate it. Oh yeah, quick question before you go. Do you know any idioms or phrases around tea? Maybe you know other idioms or phrases on an entirely different subject. I would love to see them. Leave them in the comments below. And if I use one of the phrases, I'll give you a shout out. Thank you again for watching and subscribing. I really appreciate your support. Until next time, bye!